Well, now, YouTube, as that VShojo is rightfully burning in the ground, the NDAs of the talents have ceased to exist. So we're going to talk about this one, made by Veibae. As she says, her NDA is now void. So let's read it together, and then I will comment along the way or at the end, whatever I desire. Alright, why I left VShojo. Back in 2023, VShojo tried to bully me into one of the most predatory contracts that I have ever seen. When I tried to ask more about it, their COO, Chief Operating Officer, got extremely hostile with me and refused to answer any of my questions, and so I had to hire a lawyer in order to get some clarification. During the talks, it became clear that VShojo would rather let me go than to take less away from me. They were ultimately wanting me to give up more than half of all my sponsor revenue and over 60% of all merch sales. All I asked from them in return is to not take a cut of the sponsors that I was getting through Mythic, another agency, as that cut was already being taken. They said no, they want it all. Greedy motherfuckers. And so I asked to leave after being treated like I was disposable in our talks. They basically made it seem like they were my employer and that they're the reason for my success, gaslighting, that I owe them and that I should be happy to give them my money. Jesus. In order for me to leave, they demanded I sign an NDA that prevented me from speaking to any of our other talent about it. I could not say why I was leaving. I could not say what the terms that I was saying no to were. I even got in trouble for advising them to hire their own attorneys. They would watch my streams, read my Discord, and then threaten to sue me. If I said anything that hinted towards how I really felt about the company, I was threatened with a lawsuit. Now, step back. If you have any basic knowledge of the law, you can see the problem with this right here. They threaten retaliation, which is illegal. You can't threaten retaliation, especially since they were clearly doing something under the table. They were doing stuff that violates labor laws and wage laws. Basically, you know how she couldn't speak to any other talent? That potentially violates labor laws. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I do not know this as gospel, but I know basic law. And this NDA would be voided in court immediately. Another one of their leave terms was that they will announce both me and Silver on the same day in order to minimize the damage to their company. Their chief operating officer has begun to push a narrative on 4chan, and other social media that I'm leaving because I plan to join one, I don't know what that is, and that both me and Silver Vale are troublemakers, so they were letting us go. Later, I found out that Neanders wanted to leave around the same time due to also being happy with the contract, but was told that she couldn't because it did not fit their narrative that they were pushing internally and externally. This is not good. The amount of hate we've gotten over leaving, from fans calling us greedy bitches to people saying we're abandoning our friends and tossing aside the company because we're successful enough, shit was fucking painful. Not being able to say anything sucked. That's your problem, Veibae. You should have talked to your lawyer. And any lawyer worth their salt would have been like, yo, take him to court. This NDA is absolute donkey butts. I only found out that I didn't get paid for any of my sponsors after I had already signed the NDA. After 2 years, I have still not been paid back fully. This is a violation of wage laws. They're required to pay her. They also demanded I had to pay them back $10,000 for some of the anniversary assets, which, when they sent me back a month later, were half finished. This company is getting worse the more I read this. Despite all of that, I've had immense faith that the company has gotten better over the past 2 years. No, they're just bullying everyone into silence, as you now found out. I assume they rewrote their contracts after losing 3 people due to them and seeing all the new talent join. Clearly, this was not the case. Yes. Ooh, fun facts. Their company lawyer has an expired law license. He literally does not practice law anymore, yet he was our point of contact for any legal help we needed. That's falsehood. You don't do that. You need an actual lawyer with an actual law degree and a license. They actively pitted us against one another during my time here. And compared to our success to others, they tried enforcing streaming schedules so that our view count would look better due to less overlap. It's all about money at the end of the day for those at VShojo, it seems, and that's becoming more obvious by the moment. They would always talk shit talk other VTuber agencies. They literally would spend company money to get a tiny dig at them, especially Hololive. It literally lived rent-free in Gunrun's head. They were convinced Hololive was over when they signed Keisun, Keisan, and Nazuna. Oh, how funny that is. No, it was not over, because Kudora came up. But anyways. Our previous talent manager got ghosted for 6 months by Gunrun, told not to do any work for us, and then got fired for not doing anything. During this fiasco, we weren't able to get any assistance. Talent first, everybody! Say it with me. Talent first! MTD, which is, I think he was like one of the higher-ups, got reprimanded for being creepy to us, lol. Got told not to message us privately, go figure. I think that's the CEO, yeah, the chief operating... No, wait, no, not him. Now, this guy left earlier. I forgot his exact role. He was someone. The CMO, chief marketing officer, I think that was him. I proof from other streamers attending their real-life parties that MTD would actively shit-talk me after I left the company to paint me in the worst light imaginable. Don't know why you're acting innocent on Twitter pretending you weren't aware of anything. Can't wait to see all the shit that comes out about you because there's loads. But those aren't my stories to tell. Thanks for reading, and thanks to those who stuck around between then and now. Thank you for giving me, Silver, and Neon the benefit of the doubt when we needed it the most. Okay, so what I can gather here is that they definitely coerced her and the others into NDAs that were faulty and negligible at best. They threatened retaliation via suing. They basically stalked her social media and said, you can't say anything bad about us despite us doing actually bad stuff. So, at the end of the day, they preyed upon people who were inexperienced in law, were afraid of being blacklisted by the community as a whole because they probably threatened shit like that behind the scenes. Let's be real, nothing is off the table at this point for this company. Former company. They're in the dirt. And the worst part is, they're probably going to declare bankruptcy so that the talents don't see a dime. And Gunrun will probably take a plea deal, and he won't see much time in prison at all. But again, remember, we have to say, while Gunrun's guilt is pretty clear, what Veibae said here is still alleged. It's not confirmed. Not until it goes to court, if it goes to court. This is alleged. But given the patterns we've seen, I'm inclined to believe this, because it just matches the pattern of everything that's going on. So, here's my advice to any upcoming streamers, VTubers. If you sign with a talent agency, first of all, hire a lawyer. Get a lawyer to look over the contract and spot any discrepancies that you may not see because you're not as familiar with law. Then, if you get in and then you're like, I want to leave, and they ask you to sign an NDA, stand your ground. Say, I know my rights, and that right includes the right to a lawyer. I will not sign this NDA until I speak to said lawyer. Get the lawyer, and if it's shady, toss the NDA out and say, screw you, and go public. Guess what that is? Whistleblower. And you would be protected under U.S. whistleblower laws. Of course, this only applies to U.S. companies, but I'm just saying, I feel bad for Veibae, Silver, and Yanners because it seems like they were taken advantage of and manipulated and gaslighted and coerced, and they didn't know that at the end of the day, they could have just said, no, that NDA is absolute dog shit. Anyways, that's all we got time for today. I'll be seeing you all next time. Ciao for now.